My husband Mike and I moved into an old farmhouse that once belonged to his grandfather. It had been empty for years before we decided to fix it up. The house sat alone on a stretch of farmland, surrounded by tall grass and open fields. Our nearest neighbors were a few hundred yards away, a family of 4 whose house was just visible past a line of dead trees on the adjacent plot. There were no streetlights out there. At night, the dark felt heavy, like it was pressing against the windows. Mike loved the place. He said it felt peaceful, quiet in a way the city never was. I tried to feel the same way. The house had an attic that ran the entire length of the top floor. The entrance was a narrow staircase tucked at the end of the hallway. We barely used it. It mostly held old furniture, boxes of his grandfather's belongings, and things we hadn't unpacked yet. Still, I always felt uneasy walking past that door, especially at night. Mike worked late shifts, sometimes getting home after midnight. Those nights, I stayed up alone, keeping the TV on for noise. The farmhouse had its own sounds: wood settling, pipes knocking, the wind slipping through cracks. But I told myself that was normal for an old house. One night, while Mike was working, I was in the kitchen making myself a small snack. The TV was playing in the background, a game show I wasn't really watching. I remember feeling oddly calm, almost sleepy. Then I heard Mike call my name. It came from upstairs, from the attic. I called back, "Mike?" No answer. I walked into the hallway and stopped at the bottom of the attic stairs. My foot was already on the first step when the realization hit me. Mike wasn't home. He was scheduled until after midnight, over 20 miles away. I stood there, gripping the banister, listening. The house was completely silent. Even the TV noise seemed distant now. Then the voice came again. But it wasn't Mike anymore. It was my mom. She called my name softly, almost sweetly, the exact way she used to when I was a kid. Same tone, same rhythm. But my mom lives 2 states away. I didn't respond. I didn't move. I stood there until the silence returned, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure it could be heard upstairs. I'd had 2 glasses of wine, so I told myself I had imagined it. New house, stress, rural isolation, all reasonable explanations. Except it didn't stop. Over the next few weeks, it happened again. Always when I was alone. Always when the house was quiet. Always from the attic. Sometimes it sounded like Mike, calling my name the way he does when he's looking for me. Other times it sounded like my mom again. Once, I could have sworn it sounded like my own voice, faint, almost whispering, like it was calling from far away. I learned quickly not to respond. When it happened, I would freeze and wait it out. The calls never lasted long, just long enough to test me. When I finally told Mike, he listened carefully, but didn't seem alarmed. He suggested that moving from the city to the middle of nowhere might be messing with my senses. Old houses make strange sounds. Our brains are good at filling in gaps. He worked nights, so he never heard anything himself. At least, that's what I thought. One afternoon, a few weeks later, I went out to run errands. Mike was home alone, watching football in the living room. The house was quiet, bright with afternoon light. That's when he heard me call his name. It came from upstairs, from the attic. He told me later that what unsettled him wasn't the sound. It was the feeling. The voice was perfect. It sounded exactly like me. But something about it felt wrong. Hollow. like it didn't belong to a real person. He didn't answer. Instead, he picked up his phone and called me. I answered from my car. I told him I was still 10 minutes away. When I got home, he acted normal. He didn't mention anything. That weekend, we drove to his sister Kelly's house for a family dinner. On the drive there, Mike finally told me what happened. As he spoke, I realized he had described the exact same feeling I had, how the voice sounded right but felt wrong. Later that night, after dinner, Mike brought it up again while we were sitting in the living room. He tried to laugh it off, but his voice gave him away. Kelly was quiet as he talked, watching us both carefully. When he finished, she didn't hesitate. "That's a mimic," she said. She explained that some entities don't appear physically. They copy voices, familiar ones. They call out casually, the way someone would from another room, just to see if you'll respond. Then she hesitated, like she was deciding whether to say more. Finally, she sighed and said, she didn't want to bring this up, but she heard something in that house too. Mike turned to her immediately. Kelly told us that about 3 months after their grandfather passed away, she'd gone back to the farmhouse alone. The house had been empty by then. She wanted to collect a few of his personal items so everyone in the family could have something to remember him by. She said the moment she walked inside, the place felt wrong. Not cold, not scary, just heavy, like the air itself felt thick, pressing down on her chest. She brushed it off and told herself it was grief. The house had been his for so long, of course it would feel strange without him. She moved through the room quickly, gathering small things. His old tie, the baseball cap he wore every morning, his work gloves, his glasses from the nightstand. She avoided the attic entirely. She said she didn't know why. She just didn't feel like going up there. When she was done, she headed for the front door. That's when she heard her name. It came from upstairs, in their grandfather's voice. She said it wasn't loud. It just said her name, once, the same way he used to when he wanted her attention. Kelly didn't respond or look up. She dropped the bag by the door and immediately walked out of the house. She told us she sat in her car later, shaking, before driving straight to her mom's. When she explained what had happened, her mother dismissed it completely. She said Kelly was grieving, that she missed him, that old houses echo and play tricks on you. Kelly shrugged. Our mom's always been a skeptic, she said. She doesn't believe in any of this. The room went quiet. No one laughed. No one tried to explain it away. Not long after that, Mike and I decided to have the house blessed. We didn't tell anyone outside the family. We didn't make a big deal out of it. We just wanted some peace of mind. After the house was blessed, it worked. For a few weeks. The voices stopped completely. The air felt lighter. We slept again. But then things took a wrong turn. It started using presents. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and find the door wide open, even though I knew I'd locked it. I'd find Mike's grandfather's belongings moved into our room while we slept. The final straw was one evening. I was folding laundry in my room when I heard the front door open and Mike call my name. I almost answered. I almost went downstairs. But then I looked at my phone. Mike was still at work. I didn't say a word. I locked the bedroom door and waited until the real Mike actually came home. We moved out the following month. We didn't rent it. We didn't sell it. We just left. To this day, the house sits empty on that farmland. Months after we left, Our neighbor called us late one night. He said he'd just driven past the property and could see lights moving in the attic windows, even though he knew for a fact the house was empty. We never go back. To this day, I still wonder, was it just a mimic or something much darker? And if you've had a true scary experience, whether it was a creepy stranger, an unsettling coincidence, or something truly paranormal, I want to hear it. Send your story to the email on your screen and check the description box for details. Your experience may be featured in a future video. Let's share the stories that haunt us. See you in the next video.